They never expected her to fight back. The cafeteria was loud with laughter, trays clattering, and whispers spreading like wildfire. A new girl sat quietly, hoping to disappear into the background, but when cruel hands ripped her skirt in front of everyone, what happened next silenced the entire school. In that one moment, she proved that strength doesn't always come from size, popularity, or even power. It comes from courage. This is the story of the girl no one saw coming. Sophie had transferred to Ridgewood High just 2 weeks into the semester. She was small, quiet, and carried herself with a kind of cautious humility, as if the world had taught her to tread carefully. Her clothes weren't fancy, her shoes were worn, and she often sat alone at lunch with a book in her lap. To the crowd of Ridgewood High, that was enough reason to notice her, but not for the right reasons. At first, Sophie thought she could just blend in, keep her head down, and finish the year. But high school had its own kind of predators, the bullies who could smell insecurity from across the cafeteria. Tyler, the star basketball player with a cruel grin, and his group of friends had already started circling her. Little comments here and there, mocking her accent, her thrift store clothes, the way she always walked with her shoulders slightly hunched. She tried to laugh it off or pretend not to hear, but deep down it stung. The thing nobody knew was that Sophie hadn't come to Ridgewood by choice. Her mom had lost her job, they had moved into a small apartment near the edge of town, and everything Sophie once knew, her old friends, her karate dojo, even the quiet streets she grew up walking, were gone. She had been training in martial arts since she was 8 years old, but here she kept that part of herself hidden. She didn't want to draw attention. She just wanted peace. But peace wasn't something bullies ever allowed. One afternoon the cafeteria buzzed with the usual noise. Sophie sat at the far end, poking at her sandwich, when Tyler walked by with his friends. He stopped, leaned on the table, and sneered. "Nice skirt. Did your grandma make it?" The group laughed. Sophie ignored him, her cheeks burning. But ignoring wasn't enough. Tyler wasn't the kind of person who let things slide. He motioned to his friend, and in one swift, cruel move, they yanked at the hem of Sophie's skirt, ripping the fabric with a loud tear that echoed louder than the cafeteria noise. For a split second, everything froze. Gasps, laughter, whispers, it all blended together. Sophie's face flushed not with shame, but with something sharper. Something she had tried to keep buried. She stood up, her hands trembling at her sides, but not from fear. Tyler leaned back, smug, expecting her to cry or run. Instead, Sophie's eyes locked on his, calm and steady. In a blur faster than anyone could process, she shifted her stance, grabbed his wrist, and twisted it in one fluid motion. Tyler stumbled forward, his face contorting with pain as Sophie's move forced him off balance. He hit the cafeteria table with a thud, and the laughter stopped instantly. The entire room went silent. No one had ever seen someone move like that, so fast, so precise. Sophie released his wrist and stepped back, her voice steady but quiet. "Don't touch me again." Tyler's friends looked stunned. The cafeteria, once a place of chaos, now held a kind of heavy silence. Sophie didn't wait for their reaction. She picked up her torn skirt with dignity, straightened her shoulders, and walked out. But that moment would ripple through the school like wildfire. The next day, Sophie braced herself for the storm. She was sure she'd made things worse. Standing up to bullies never came without consequences. But as she walked through the halls, something unexpected happened. Whispers followed her, yes, but they weren't mocking. They were admiring. She flipped Tyler like he was nothing. "She's so fast. Did you see that?" She didn't even flinch. The rumors had spread, and suddenly Sophie wasn't invisible anymore. Tyler, nursing his pride more than his wrist, was furious. He couldn't let a nobody humiliate him in front of the entire school. He cornered Sophie in the hallway that afternoon, his friends forming a circle around them. Students gathered, sensing something about to happen. "You think you're tough?" Tyler sneered. "That was a lucky move. Let's see what you got when it's not a fluke." Sophie's heart pounded, but she stood her ground. "You're right," she said softly. "One move doesn't mean anything. But respect, that's earned. And you don't have any." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Tyler lunged at her, but Sophie sidestepped with lightning reflexes. Using his own momentum, she swept his leg, sending him crashing to the ground. It wasn't brutal, it was controlled, precise, the kind of move that left no room for doubt. She didn't hurt him more than necessary, but she showed strength in a way words never could. The crowd erupted, not with laughter this time but with awe. Tyler scrambled up, his face red, and for the first time he didn't have a comeback. His friends hesitated, unsure whether to help him or distance themselves. That day changed everything. Sophie didn't become the most popular girl in school, and she didn't want to be. But she became something far more powerful, respected. Even teachers noticed the shift. Students who had once ignored her now looked at her with curiosity, even admiration. She was no longer the quiet new girl. She was the girl who stood up for herself when no one else would. Later that week, as Sophie sat under the bleachers during lunch, a few students approached her. They weren't the bold, confident types. They were kids who had been teased, pushed around, or overlooked. One girl with braces whispered, "Can you teach me what you did?" Sophie smiled for the first time in weeks. She realized her story wasn't just about defending herself. It was about giving others the courage to believe in their own strength. The bullies hadn't expected her to fight back, and when she did, she didn't just defend herself. She lit a spark in others. And so, the girl who wanted to stay invisible became the one who showed everyone at Ridgewood High that courage could silence cruelty and dignity could outshine humiliation. Because sometimes, the fastest move isn't about fists or kicks. It's about choosing to stand tall when the world tries to tear you down.